The opinions expressed in the following audio does not represent High Media or its advertisers. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the High Soapbox. I'm your host, and I am joined today by the beautiful Miss Kadi Davidson.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm great.
Well, so you're up from Tallahassee, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, up from Tallahassee.
But you're originally from here in Wilmington?
Mm-hmm. Born and raised.
Yep. So Kadi is an activist and an artist, and she's here to chat a bit just about art and like some of the activism and stuff she works on. And speaking of which, just so we can roll into things, you're up from Tallahassee, but you were originally from here.
Yep, I'm originally from here. I was born at the Christiana Hospital, Newcastle. Went to school here, Claremont Elementary, Springer Middle School, Mount Pleasant High School. Made some lifelong friends in high school that I still talk to this day. And I moved down to Florida to have a lifestyle change because around the time that I moved, there was a huge opiate epidemic going on within my generation. And it was hard for any of us to survive.
And Florida got hit hard by that.
Florida was going through the same thing around the same time. The whole country was, in certain areas, and certain targeted groups of people, as well as, and I had to escape an abusive lifestyle, and I went to treatment to escape, and I started a new life in Florida.
Yeah.
I started a new life in Florida.
So, speaking of your new life in Florida, what does that normally entail? What have you been, so at the top of this I said you were an activist, so what are some of the things, generally speaking, that you do?
Well, when Donald Trump got elected into office, next thing you know, all of the oppressed racism and of people of all cultures started slowly making its way out of the woodwork. You would go out in public and you would feel tension just between the whites and the blacks, for example. If you want to say it like that. Things literally reverted back to like the 60s, it felt like. I would go to the gas station and other white people would look at me if there was no other white person around, like to see if they were safe. And, and I was judged and surveyed by the African American ethnic communities to make sure that I was not racist. So there was like a ongoing social investigation by everybody, seeing who's racist and who's not racist. So I had to start doing things like, keeping my purse open just to show that I trusted people. I was like, well, that'll send a subliminal message. That way I don't look like a racist asshole who's clinging to my purse around an African American person. I had to start doing little things like preaching about what happened in certain parts of history just to maintain my reputation. So that way I wasn't seen as some racist white devil, because a lot of them exist down there. And, so what I did went above and beyond just my actions speaking louder than words. I started talking to a lot of my friends up north about the situation down south. And I'm a spiritualist. I'm a known spiritualist. I've been practicing spiritualism for the past 12 years, if not 14, if not for the past 20. It's something that I've always been into. My mom's always been into. But that's besides the main point. I saw that there was a problem that went above and beyond just somebody watching news. There was something deep within everybody's psyche that was literally controlling them beyond their current perception. It wasn't just, the racist people were oppressed and they needed to come back out for a minute with Donald Trump. It was like it was being accelerated at a really fast pace by people promoting the alt-right with tiki torches, with black magic and white magic, everything combined. The KKK, they wear white hoods and light a fire and kill black people and kill snakes, hoping that they steal their energy. It's a whole spiritual crime. There were spiritual crimes left and right, left and right, left and right, but mostly right. And I said, I can do something about this. You know, I broke up with my ex-fiance because his family in the past was affiliated with the KKK, and I could feel his ancestors and his subtle racism. And before Donald Trump got into office, I had to just kind of accept that as, well, that's his past, and that's not who he is now, and that has nothing to do with our relationship. It had to do with his insecurities, but that's besides the point. But, you know, I left that relationship, and I said, I need to make a change. I said, I need to make a change down here, you know, and, and I started, practicing spiritual healing. And I recruited one of my best friends named Barry, who is a noted healer, psychic, shaman, and wizard in Delaware. Everyone knows that's Barry. You know, that's Barry. You know, he's got the crystals, he's got the stone. He smokes me up, and I feel better. You know, that's the kind of guy he is, and that's a common role of people in the African American communities.
I'd like to have Barry on one of these days.
Most definitely, Barry is an incredible guy, and he is actually healing from some of the things that we have had to do to heal the South, and not just the South, but ourselves. We had to heal ourselves simultaneously, as well as the situations up here and down there. And it's not something that we outwardly always talked about. It was more of a telepathic communication, as it still is, because telepathy is real. Regardless if there are subliminal advertisement taps into the brain, telepathy and psychic and God will shine and exist and transcend everything, regardless of any sabotage from anyone. So what we did is, you know, I have it written down here because I had to think about it in a layman's term. You know, we did telekinetic voodoo spells that connected to a multitude of people via communication, telecommunication, amplification, and listening. It's what Hitler and the Masons did, just on the flip. Like, we did what they did for our purpose. It's what I had to do to defeat the alt-right at their peak. I had to get physical, make changes through my actions, project a raw hologram over the previous attempts by the alt-right and alt-light. I've had to keep white supremacists at bay to protect the LGBT community, for one, and to just protect everyone as a whole. I taught the white supremacists about what it's like just to be super. I changed one man's viewpoint ever so slightly that he fell off of his game after sending me pictures of guns, tanks, knives, and ammo. And he went back to prison because I taught him that it was wrong. And his inspiration fell off and he got caught. He told me his efforts were preventative. It's like, you know, I understand that you're afraid of white culture being depleted, but at the end of the day, that problem doesn't exist for everybody.
What even is white culture?
White culture was actually erased when the White House teamed up with the white people. Or that's what people may think, but the White House literally just whitewashed the white people and said, you know, you're going to go to school, you're going to get a job, if you got a problem, take a mental health medication. And, you know, white people lost their culture eons ago, especially the Irish. The Irish do roots too, and you know.
But in that we gained a credit score.
Yeah, the credit score is the reparation we all asked for. We just got to pay it back, mind you. But that's a side note. That's a branch. That's a branch. But yeah, this man would message me photos of knives, guns, and trucks, calling his efforts preventative. I've also had to look at the severity of the oppression of the other ethnicities that aren't white and keep all teams happy. Because at that point, I had to, you know, go undercover and put my perspective as what do the supremacists think and how do I talk to them and get them out of that? How do I get them out of that, you know? It was really hard. I utilized a lot of projection, faith, prayer, hope, and feelings along with vision and insight. And by it, I mean the successful projection of the giant vortex I've implemented into saving our emotional fields throughout the time of Trump. I've had to become a president of the president, the spiritual dictator of the president, yet again, to guide the alt-righters into what I say instead of what Trump said. Through guidance and tedious work, spiritual work and soul guidance. It worked too, and works. and will always work. Whether I'm alive or dead, I've made sure of that. However, live is this day. Regardless of the threats and the immediate spiritual threats that I have encountered down the line, no matter if I'm alive or dead, everything I've done still stands. And I'm worth more alive than I am dead.
Yes.
We knew that there was some sort of distortion of faith, and we couldn't let it continue. So we went to the source, our earth, to help us through minerals, energetic belief, and preserving our human spirit at all costs, while maintaining our own families the best we could. We also went to the mental topography of the satellites in the sky to protect all of our metaphysics, and beyond, into the planets, connecting us all to the core of ourselves and to the core of the planet. I've gone through engagement breakups due to racist jokes, due to cultural oppression, boyfriend breakups due to racist jokes, due to cultural oppression from the white and black sides. And because of the Southern culture's dire yearn to want to preserve an old racist culture and cult history. Again, all because of the Southern culture's dire yearn to want to preserve an old racist culture and call it history? Some of it, yes, it is history, and I get that, but some of it is honestly some downright preservative of oppression, altars, monarchies, probably implemented by neo-Nazi scientists themselves eons ago, it feels like. Or, as I'd like to think of them, black wizards with white skin. And, they're black wizards with white skin, but, not all black wizards are very talented. Like, if they had a degree system, most of them would be, like, a level 2 on, like, the 33 scale. So it's, like, easy to just go in there and just say, fuck y'all, I know more than you.
Right.
And it's just like, I've lived in Wilmington. I grew up in Wilmington, which is one of the most culturally diverse places on planet America. If not planet Earth. And it's culturally diverse, yet economically sound because we're business people. So I grew up in a really cool place, and I had come from a good place when I went to change these people. Right. and change the land. And a lot of the things that they do to oppress them are natural spells. And some of the things are very outdated, and they keep people down. And it's just, the South was mad that they lost the Civil War, and they wanted to rise again, and they're the reason why a lot of the North is fucked up, just as the North is the reason why a lot of the South is fucked up, in terms of technology and natural balance. And, that's a different story in itself, but, this is knowledge that has been around for hundreds of centuries. Knowledge of how to utilize energy to preserve power and control the masses through a flow of a system, which is understandable. That's what a leader and a god and a guide should do. But when you use that for the wrong purpose, to keep people down and to hurt people, that is absurd. And that's what I saw. And, and I had to battle dictatorship with dictatorship.
Right.
Some neo-Nazis started to front as the alt-right for oppression purposes, and I had to stop that. We don't need another Hitler Youth. We didn't need another Hitler Youth. We will never need a Donald Trump Hitler Youth. We will never need that. And that's what I've been working on, wholeheartedly. Releasing the oppression, even through the segregation, through the channel of many. Sometimes it's as simple as posting on Facebook so the NSA could read. Or so my elitist family can see. And I would and will have an eye to bounce back on. Just working on the vibe, the overall tone of myself, the culture, the chemtrails, the ghosts and bones, and the propaganda. Or whatever else you want to call that. I've had to think like them to beat them at their own game. Convince them that their ways are wrong. Turn the hourglass and wait for change. And that is what I did. And that is what I'm continuing to do. And that's what I am doing. And there are a lot of people who are on the same page. We didn't survive 9/11 as a generation to grow up to be racist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, it's... I mean... I'm just trying... You just said a lot. I'm just trying to pick which direction we should go in next after all of that.
Definitely. It's definitely a good segment to talk about that, like the intro. That's a good intro. Yeah. And then we can do the podcast if you want to do that.
Well, I mean, what I will say this though is that next thing, what are some people you? So you say that, so you work to basically de-radicalize people, in a way.
Yeah. My family has roots in secret societies, and
what are some examples of people you de-radicalized?
Well, there was
not on the like ethereal level.
The Republic of Florida.
Like, who are some people you've met day to day who you de-radicalized?
There was somebody in the Republic of Florida who messaged me on Facebook, and he sent me pictures of tanks, security cameras, guns, knives, and a hotline to call to sign up. And he flirted with me.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I told him that babies don't choose what color to be born. You know, I told him about my viewpoints, you know, where I'm coming from, and my own mixed family. Mm-hmm. And I told him that babies don't choose what skin color they are. They are just babies. I told him what it is just to be super and not a white supremacist. And I said something that clicked in this mind's man that made him want to marry me. And this man kept hitting me up trying to flirt and mac on me. Well, and I kept breadcrumbing him and curbing him, because I was like, at that point, he just wanted to fuck me. He didn't care about his radicalism.
Right. You know, and you know, like, the more degenerate part of me gets where he's coming from, because you are quite pretty, you know. But like, at that point, your concern was not getting dick. Your concern was de-radicalizing a person and making a step.
And you know, and I wanted to educate him on the realities of the situation and help him heal from it. But I didn't want to fuck him, so I just kind of breadcrumbed him and let him do him. But next thing you know, I heard he got locked up and because he violated his probation. Because this man wasn't supposed to be online. He was actually banned from being online so that way he couldn't organize an attack.
Because he was doing.
He was threatening the gay bar, which I have a lot of friends at. And I said, you know, when someone talked about the thread on Facebook, and I left her a comment, and I said, what the fuck? You know, I said, what the hell? What the heck? You know? And this man found me through that comment and messaged me. And it was very threatening at first, and I was able to diffuse the threat and shed light and knowledge onto his heart.
Do you think that if he ever cuts out, you're gonna work on finishing the job?
If what?
If in the event he
gets... No, I mean, because at the end of the day, I left an impression which is very innocent and honest, where I just wanted to educate him. There was another instance where I met a man by the name of Chris. Met him on Tinder. Mm-hmm. And
Florida Tinder.
Florida fucking Tinder. I met him on Tinder, and this man got
must be something.
This man got a charge for selling kratom in North Carolina. And, you know, since then, kratom has had its liberation and known as, it's kind of like a tea, kind of like a coffee. We all know that.
Speaking of tea, would you like a cup?
Tea would be great.
Yeah, keep talking.
But, this man, he came to see me. We had some good sex. After we had some sex, he let me know that his father is in the KKK, plays poker, and is the chief of police in Georgia. And that he's going into the Masons as like a level 13 or something.
And you're just like,
I was just like,
and given all your opinions of all of those things, you're just like, could you have told me that before?
Could you have told me that before I fucked you in my bed and squirted all over you? Like, you're in trouble. And
how long you hang around him for?
Oh, like 1 or 2 days. And then he kept hitting me up for shrooms, and I'm just like, bro, you have a problem. I was like, bro, you got a problem. So, you know, I prayed for him. I was like, you know what? I know you are not like your father, you know, and you have a lot to learn.
Shit. My father is a fornicating drunk. That ain't me.
A lot of people have fornicating drunk moments.
Yeah.
And that's okay to have a moment. Is it okay to do it all the time? No. But if you have a moment or a weekend where you're fornicating drunk, that is perfectly okay. Or, tipsy.
You do you, boo. You
right.
do you, boo. Yeah.
So that was another instance where I de-radicalized, ever so slightly.
Well, it sounds to me like it's less of de-radicalization and more like setting the bedrock for them to eventually, wisen up.
Yes. Kind of like being a good woman and just saying, that's not right with a fly swatter. Basically. Or supersonically. Supersonic basically. Basically supersonic. That's what that was another instance. There was also a racist dog that me and my friend Aaron.
You done with that?
No. That me and my friend Aaron helped train to not be racist, and I fostered him out, and now he's living with my BBW friend Satori, living the life, and he has his own bedroom. He's loving it.
You said a racist dog?
Yeah. Well, so there was this lady who does hair, and I picked up some hair product from her one night. And she had this dog in a cage, and she said, "You want him?" I said, "What?" This little dog was running around the house, and all the kids, and he was like barking at the kids, and the kids had like racist attitudes towards him because of everything that was on the news, because he was a white dog. And I noticed that the kids had a slightly racist attitude towards the dog because he was white. I said, and I'm known to be an animal psychic, and I said, "What the fuck?" I said, "I don't know." And I came back a couple weeks later, got some more hair product, and like, I was like, all right, I'm gonna take the dog. He doesn't get along with your family and all this stuff, and if you think he's racist, or if he barks, or, if you think he likes white people more, whatever, I'll take him. So I took him, and my friend Aaron comes out, the roommate, with a black and mild, and he's mixed, and he's real, like, medium, like, milky, like, real, like coffee. He's caramel. And, the dog looked at him and went, woof, and Aaron went, He put in his finger, and he said, and the dog went, mm-hmm. And the dog looked at him sideways ever since. But then, Aaron and Justin, he's a dark chocolate boy. He's cute. They're a little couple. They loved that little dog, and he, day by day, got better. You could see it in his eyes. He would look, and then he would like, "Can I trust you?" So we trained that dog to not have problems with people of different origins. Because what happened is the dog was abused by a dark-skinned man with a broom when he was a child, and
was continually abused,
and was continually neglected and abused a little bit. But he had a problem with African Americans because of the abuse by the broom as a puppy. So I took him in, and I rescued him, and I retrained him to not be fearful of people who remind him of his attacker. Which I think is a big metaphor for, for America. Don't be mad that Dave Chappelle said a joke, a few times and it pissed you off, white people.
Sidebar. I will say, like, on that Dave Chappelle stuff, I just want to say, just for my listeners, before we get right back on, Sticks and Stones, his last special he put out on Netflix, was interesting because I feel like it was a one of those jokes that required, like, he was making fun of, like, I'm going to say some mean shit, and people are going to get offended, and I'm going to be on the news because of me. Basically, that was a joke. And so it was, at least to me, part of me felt that was planned because he knew it was going to happen, and he was making fun of that the media does that, and then the media actually started blasting him online and the media for like all those jokes and stuff, and did exactly what he expected, and I felt like that was just, I don't know. I like Dave Chappelle. There are times where I feel like he does sometimes say stuff that I may not politically agree with, and I may find morally objective. But you know what? Funny's funny.
Right. Humor isn't supposed to be political, and I think that the terms of what being political means has been severely distorted over the past 4 years.
The darker something is, the more political, the more taboo it is. The funnier the joke has to be, because, like, there's some things that like are just funny, but
Right.
but you have to you can like Sam Kinison, like an old comic, like was making fun of starving children in Africa, and it was a funny fucking bit. But you can't make comedy that's not funny on just, you know what I mean? You're a comic, you know.
You know, I haven't watched television for 5 years.
Bless your heart.
And every time I turn on the news or something and watch like a political,
it's depressing, isn't it?
No, it's stupid. It's like literally the IQ level of 70. And I'm just like, okay, when did the word racism, busing, and the alt-right become our political topics? When did our political topics become reminiscent of the age of Hitler?
Because it gets clicks on Facebooks and views on TV.
Which is why I'm working to change that on a grassroots level. Because anybody who's still, watching the news on a regular basis and thinking it's reality is a nut job. And anybody who is, going to the Catholic Church is a fucking nut job for two. Because
did you hear about that Catholic priest that said that who said that refused to give communion to politicians that were pro-choice because he said that and then when they called out the fact that he was giving communion to priests that were considered pedophiles, he said that pedophilia wasn't as bad as abortion. Yeah,
that's
I know.
ridiculous. I would rather kill a child than subject them to pedophilia. I'd rather nip it in the bud than give birth to somebody if they were around a child molester.
As somebody who was,
I mean, honestly, wouldn't you?
As a survivor of sexual assault myself, I'd rather take death over that. It ain't
right,
fun.
Exactly. See, there you go.
It ain't fun.
Now if you've been through it and you heal, that's great. But if you don't got to go through it, bye. If you know there's a child molester around you, you up and move.
I'm friends with Catholic. Honestly, I'm friends with some Catholic people, and it's like one of those things that they're just not thrilled of. They condemn it and they try to. The problem comes not from the Catholic belief itself, but it comes from the power structure that enables that belief.
And it was an old world tactic of, guiding and controlling the masses into being oppressed and liberated at the same time. And, it fed the people.
Here's your tea.
Thank you. It allowed the people to live and have a nuclear little family throughout the ages. But at the end of the day, it's not natural to the human condition, because at the beginning of the day, we're all animals, and we've all just been trained, kind of like we train our cats and dogs, and conditioned. And some of the emotional structures behind those conditionings are perfectly valid, but a lot of the lies associated with them are what the problem is.
Yeah, you're gonna want to give that tea a minute. It just came out the kettle, but
cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the High Soapbox. We are now going to go into the shout-out segment. So, shout-out to start. Shout-out to Solar Sonic 21. I just recorded a new series called Backseat Gamer with him. Friend of the show, Anthony Lopez. His YouTube channel is called Solar Sonic. If you want to go and just check out some really dope gameplay of things like the old Sonic games, Sonic Mania, Kingdom Hearts, you definitely should go check his stuff out. Shout out to my boy CJ Perry, who runs Cal Visions Apparel on Instagram and at the same URL, where you can buy some dope Delaware themed and US themed streetwear. It's the level of quality on this stuff is excellent, and I highly suggest it. Though they do limited releases at times, so make sure you keep an eye out for those. Shout out to Squeezebox Records, Wilmington's premier record store, and friend of the show, Rich Fisher, runs that. Please do go, if you're ever in town, go to, it's just behind the auto dealership, and Google Squeezebox Records. And also, I want to note, their website is about to have an influx of new content and new products, so if you're a vinyl, if you like records, and you like all that, check out squeezebox.com, and you can buy all that stuff and not even have to come into the city yourself. And he ships in the continental United States, as well as I believe Hawaii and Alaska. Though don't quote me on that. Kate, do you have anybody you want to shout out?
Shout out to God and all the current and future listeners.
Oh, that's nice. I will say one final shout out to No.2, who is a local rapper. No.2 Brian is his Instagram handle. He's a friend of the show. He was on last season. Please go check out his music and keep up with him. You will be expecting big things. I'm expecting big things from him. And last but not least, you the viewer, or the listener, I mean to say. Thank you guys so much for supporting us, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Also, sidebar.
The next episode.
Yeah, but I do want to also note this: we just got a Patreon.
Oh.
If you go to patreon.com/HIMedia, you can support the show. I'm also gonna be posting articles and satire and if you guys like the podcast, and you want to get updated on it early, I'm gonna be putting the podcast up on Friday, not Monday. There. So if you guys want it, you can go get it, and you can get it there. So join our Patreon. You can pay whatever you want. I recommend $1, but you get access to everything.
Do it.
Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the High Soapbox. The lovely Miss Kadi Davidson has joined me. Thank you so much for listening.